Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the Millennial Mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Hello, my beautiful friends and loyal listeners. It's always a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me on social media. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. And remember that we're now on TV. Tune in at impact.kpmedia.tv and you can catch a moment of Zen on the Impact Live channel Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern. All of our episodes are now available on demand. We have such a great show lined up for you today. In our influencer segment, brought to you by Tempest Network, we're featuring Down syndrome advocate and triathlete Abigail Adams. Now, Abigail became the first woman with Down syndrome to complete a sprint triathlon, swim 800 meters, ride 10.2 miles, and also complete a 5K run. She also completed her 10th sprint triathlon at the USA Youth Nationals, bringing home a silver in her division. She's here today with her amazing dad, Steve, to help me demystify the stigma and remind people that Down syndrome may have its limits, but it also has amazing warriors like Abigail and even baby Jed. We'll talk about who Jed is in just a sec. Now, they are both turning the ugly stats of Down syndrome upside down. In our Millennial Mom segment brought to us by CCP Digital, we are featuring Misty Coy Snyder. She's an actor, a writer, a mama, and a Down syndrome advocate. And of course, mama to baby Jed. Do you see a theme here? I'm sending so much love to the Down syndrome communities across all of America. Now, Misty's Jedidiah has Down syndrome, but she delights in using her platforms to shine a light on the beauty of Down and all of those who are marginalized in society. She is the founder of Happiness is Down Syndrome, which is a safe haven community. She's here to shed some light and educate us on Jedidiah's amazing story. On My Healthy Minutes, brought to us by ogpay.com, we're featuring Amy Kennedy, Education Director of the Kennedy Forum, and she is joined by her good friend, JD Willett. JD is Equip's Director of Lived Experience. Now, Equip helps families recover from eating disorders right in the comfort of their own home. Today, we're chatting mental health, children, and why eating disorders seem to be on the rise. In our Business and Buzz segment brought to us by Revere Securities, we have Jeff Thompson, CEO of Red Cat Holdings. Red Cat is at the forefront of providing solutions for the rapidly growing and commercial recreational drone industries. Yep, that's right. Today, we're chatting all things drones and how they are saving lives and what makes them a great portfolio investment. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with our influencer segment brought to us by Tempest Network, featuring Abigail the Advocate and her awesome dad. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Tempest, the next generation of the engagement economy, allowing people to make money on their data and earn cryptocurrency for the time they spend on things they already currently love to do. With Tempest, brands will have the ability to pay you directly for interacting with apps, watching videos, playing games, and more. Tempest, the time is now. Engage and earn.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up in just a few minutes, we have our influencer segment brought to us by Tempest Network. And today we're featuring the amazing Abigail Adams. Now, Abigail is a Down syndrome triathlete and advocate. Down syndrome has many challenges, but Abigail doesn't believe in excuses. She has overcome great difficulties to become a successful public speaker, a triathlete, an actress who inspires people around the world. She was born with Down, and experts said she would never be able to do strenuous activity. Yet, in July of 2021, she became the first woman with Down syndrome to complete a sprint triathlon, swimming 800 meters, riding 10.2 miles, and even completing a 5K run. She recently went on for her 10th sprint triathlon and completed it at the USA Youth Nationals, bringing home a silver in her division. Now, last month, she gave her keynote speech, How to Be Truly Successful, to Google in North Carolina. She is also both a model and an actress, and we're going to ask her about that in just a few. Now, her public speaking engagements include dozens of venues around the world, inspiring tens of thousands of listeners. And her philanthropic work has helped raise money for Children's Miracle Network hospitals, St. Jude's Children's Research, and Special Olympics, just to name a few. She has defied all odds associated to Down syndrome. Now, Abigail goes by Abigail the Advocate, reminding us that everyone has obstacles in their life, but how we respond to those challenges is how success can truly be measured. Welcome to the show, my beautiful daughter-daddy duo.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
Thank you, Abigail. So happy that you are on.
You're so welcome.
All right. You have just competed in the USA Triathlon event in Westchester, Ohio. You have done 11 sanctioned sprint triathlons. You have done collaborations with Disney, Universal Studios, Oprah Winfrey Network, Starbucks, Google. I could go on and on. You have also presented awards at the U.S. Congress. You've been in the Macy's parade and the Pro Bowl halftime show. You've done a lot. What future goals do you have? Like, that's not enough.
My future goals can be an actor and a teacher, and I can do more public speaking.
I love that. What is your favorite type of acting role that you want to focus on?
Well, I really have to focus on my lines, and I know I love exercising can lead to stunts.
Oh, yes. And I love that you are so athletic. Now, you recently started a makeup and sports clothing line called Shima, right? Please tell us about how that came about.
Well, beauty is everywhere, and it's about like beauty sinks right to your beauty. It's really good for your it can be confident.
Yes, confidence is extremely important, and we know that you are very confident. As an athlete, especially, somebody so active like you, what does your exercise routine look like? What's your favorite exercise routine?
Apparently the run, and my least is my swim, but who's counting?
Yeah, you're right. Who's counting? I love that too. What's your one piece of advice, something that you live by?
Be shy, be confident, and help others.
Very important. Confidence, helping others, those are extremely critical traits that you need in life, and you've got both of them, my darling. Tell me about your proudest moment so far.
Accomplishing triathlons.
That's definitely a proud moment. What's your favorite place in the world that you have been to?
I've been to Europe, but within Europe, my favorite is Venice and Verona in Italy.
Venice and Verona in Italy. I love Italy. I just came back from Sicily, and I stayed at such an amazing place, and I can't wait to go back. So I love Italy too. Tell me, what do you want to do for a career? I know you said acting is something that you want to focus on, but if it's not going to be acting, what career do you want to go down? What kind of career path?
Well, I know I want to be a teacher and do more public speaking, but I can be a news reporter too.
A news reporter. I love that. I love that your goals are so aspirational and inspirational, but I think you definitely belong in public speaking. Teacher is also a great career for you because there's so many people that are looking up to you right now, Abigail. All right, talk to me. I heard you are in a long-term relationship. Congratulations. Can you tell us about who this is and how you met?
His name is Chad Mitchell Random Scoder, and he gave me this birthday in a promise ring. He said, no matter what age, he still loves me, and we met 19 years ago.
Oh, this is so sweet.
Where you met?
At Mr. Vinny's other office.
That's her therapist. Abigail was 3 and Chad was 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dad, tell us your perspective on this. We have about 2 minutes in the segment, but I want to hear about this relationship. This is so exciting.
Well, Abigail's just head over heels in love, counting down the days until they're able to tie the knot officially. So it looks like we're about 3 years out. They've been friends since they were very young, and
until we get married in 3 years.
Yep.
You are so sweet.
Yeah, it's really a very inspirational thing. I think it's awesome to watch Abigail in action. And she has just a genuine way of making friends. And I think that comes through in her social media and in the acting that she's done, where everyone needs inspiration. Everyone needs the opportunity to be successful. And I think a lot of times people are afraid of failure, whether they have a special need or not. If they don't try, then they can't succeed. And that's really why we are promoting Abigail as Abigail the Advocate rather than Abigail the actress or Abigail the entertainer.
Yes.
We want other people to be inspired by
Abigail, and so many people are. How old are you, Abigail?
I'm 22 years old, and in 2 months I'll be 23.
Oh, wow. We have a birthday coming on. All right. Well, happy birthday to you. So Dad approves of the boy. That's good. We're moving on up here. We got the approval. You are doing great things. Very quickly, what's the largest crowd you have ever given a speech to, Abigail?
Well, I gave a speech at the USA triathlon.
That is
opening ceremonies.
Yeah.
So that's a big crowd. Yeah. Wow. Congratulations. Well, listen, we are out of time. Our next guest is also somebody pretty impressive. Her name is Misty Coy Snyder, and she is a mom to Jedidiah, and she is the founder of Happiness is Down Syndrome. So it should be a great episode, but I'm so excited that you are out there doing your thing, living your life to the fullest. Dad, you should be so proud. Abigail, what an honor to have you on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, you definitely have to check out Abigail the Advocate on the gram. She is amazing. You could head to her website, abigailtheadvocate.com. And that was our influencer segment brought to us by Tempest Network. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. Make sure that you are understanding the facts. Make sure that you understand that Down syndrome is not something that you should marginalize. And most importantly, you have to really do your research before you draw your own conclusions. Each year, about 6,000 babies are born with Down syndrome in the United States, and Down syndrome is the most common chromosomal disorder in the US. The average age of survival continues to increase, and at the turn of the 20th century, children with Down syndrome rarely lived past 9 years old. But when you see Abigail and Jedidiah really paving the way here, it makes you really think how far we have come, but it's also up to each individual's drive. Now, thanks to advancements in treatment, the majority of people with the condition will live way past 60 years old, and that is something to be extremely proud of. We have definitely come a long way, my friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CCP Digital, bringing you a view from inside blockchain, cryptocurrency, and NFTs. Introducing the latest Blockchain Heroes series, Retro Rebellion NFT collectible card packs from the Nifty Company. Available January 2022. Find out more online at ccpdigital.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Millennial Mom segment brought to us by CCP Digital, we are featuring the awesome Misty Coy Snyder. She's an actor, a writer, a mama, but most important of all, she's a Down syndrome advocate. Now, her younger son, Jedidiah has Down syndrome. He's 2 years old, but she delights in using her platforms to shine a light on the beauty of Down syndrome and all those who are marginalized in society. She is the founder of Happiness is Down Syndrome, which is a safe haven community where you can be seen, heard, encouraged, and connect within the Down syndrome community. Now, Down syndrome, also called Trisomy 21, is the most common chromosomal condition in the United States. A chromosomal condition, also known as a genetic condition, happens when there's a problem in one or more chromosomes. Now, chromosomes are the structure that hold genes, and genes are part of your body's cells that store instructions for the way your body grows and works. Genes are passed from parents to children. About 1 in 700 babies, okay, that's less than 1%, is going to be born with Down syndrome. And many children with Down syndrome, though, will go on to lead healthy, happy, and active lives, contrary to popular belief. They can go to school, they can participate in activities, and enjoy being social with pretty much just about anybody. Now, each person has 23 pairs of chromosomes, or 46 in all. And for each pair, you get 1 chromosome from your mother and 1 from your father. But babies with Down syndrome have an extra copy of chromosome 21. And this extra copy changes the way their brain develops and works. And here to chat some more and shed light and educate us is the amazing Misty Coy Snyder. Welcome to the show, beautiful mama.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here.
Jed, Clay, Braden, congrats to your beautiful family. You are amazing, and Jedidiah is an angel. Misty, I have to say, I was scrolling through IG, and his beautiful face, it just caught my attention. Specifically, it was his eyes. Now, you found out about Down syndrome during your pregnancy in 2020, which was at the height of the pandemic, and you decided to keep your baby. Talk to me about this decision and what that was like for you.
You know, I think anyone would say this being in this position, but it was the last thing I expected. I ended up getting genetic testing done simply because I wanted to know the gender of my baby. And it was taking a little longer than usual to get the results. And one day I received a phone call from my OB and was very excited to find out the gender of my baby, and immediately noticed a cold, sort of dark tone on the phone, almost what you would expect if a doctor was going to tell you you're terminally ill, or, you know, a loved one had died. That's really what it felt like. And I immediately, being very in touch with the emotions of people, could tell she was nervous to speak with me. And she let me know that my baby had a 9 of 10 chance of having Down syndrome. And I would say in that moment, it felt like I was underwater. It felt like, I couldn't hear or feel or think anything. It just sounded muffled, every word that she spoke. And it was like time stood still and I wanted to run away. And so much of that now, 2 years later, I can say is connected with the way that society in general views a difference with our babies, that we think we want a healthy, perfect baby. And anything that sort of strays from that narrative is considered, I don't know if I can do that. I don't want to do that. And the very first thought I had was, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I'm terrified. And it was just absolute fear. And I'm really blessed that that particular day, my husband was home from work, and I told him, and I just fell at the bottom of the stairs in tears and devastation. And his one sentence of, I said, Braden, I can't do this. And he said, well, this is our baby and we can do this and we will do this. And he simplified it so beautifully in that moment. And I really have never looked back. It doesn't mean that I haven't had hard times, and it doesn't mean that I haven't had confusion and fear and all those natural human emotions. But I immediately got connected to the Down syndrome community. I immediately plugged in. And what I've found in spades is that the narrative that we have around Down syndrome is actually not the truth. I could go on for days, but
Yeah.
are wonderful.
You know, your story is absolutely fascinating. I would let you continue speaking, but I have so many questions that I want to just streamline this. So What are some of the things that can affect your risk of having a baby with Down syndrome?
Well, I mean, they say that as you get older, your risk goes up. And at the time I was 38, so I immediately felt, oh, so much guilt. But being in the New York area, people are having babies well into their 40s,
Yeah.
sometimes even 50s, if they're, Janet Jackson. But there really is, they say that the risk factor goes up, but I have a huge group of friends in their 20s and early 30s. I think what's so important to know is that nothing you do causes this to happen. This is, I think, a tremendous amount of shame and guilt can come over a woman like me. And I just need to say that if you're listening to this, that you didn't do something to cause this.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. Talk to me about naming Jedidiah, because the only mention of the name Jedidiah in the Bible is found in 2 Samuel 12:25. So
Yes.
talk to me about this decision.
Yes. That weekend that I found out, there was a lot of grief, a lot of tears, a lot of sort of sorting through things. And I realized very early on, if I'm going to take this journey on, I need to fully embrace it. And I need to find the joy and the beauty in the journey, and unexpected though it may be. And so I just happened to be reading in the Bible, sort of seeking some hope and encouragement. And it just so happened that I read the passage that you just referred to, where King David had just lost a son, and he went in and to his wife immediately, and they got pregnant and they had this baby, and they named the baby, but an angel of God came and renamed Jedidiah, which means beloved of God. And I knew in that moment, reading that, this child is beautiful and beloved of God. And I have a very strong faith, but it was shaken to the core through this experience. And so it was just a wonderful reminder that he's beautiful and beautiful the way that he is.
He absolutely is beautiful. And of course, the names Jedidiah and David are related in that the name David means beloved. So you are 100% right. That is the perfect name for him. I get emotional talking about this because as a mom, I can totally feel your passion and your connection to Jed, which is amazing. All right, let's move on with how does Down syndrome affect your child's health and development really quickly? And then I also want to talk about your communication with Jed.
Okay, so I just want to say at the onset that people assume that if a child is born with Down syndrome, they're automatically unhealthy. And that is not the case. There are many, many children who are born with Down syndrome that are exceedingly healthy, more healthy sometimes than a typical child. So I need to dispel that myth. Number two, Jed was born, 50% of children with Down syndrome are born with a heart defect. And Jed did have an ASD, which is a heart defect. However, it was so small when he was born that it's like inconsequential. He's going to go back in 5 years and make sure, but it's inconsequential. The one thing that Jed did face was infantile spasms at 6 months, which is exceedingly rare. And we treated it, and he's doing great. And, Jed is a healthy little boy. He's a healthy, joyful little boy, and there are health complications that can come with Down syndrome. That is absolutely true, but it is not always the case. And we live in a day and age where we have wonderful doctors and specialists who can walk you along every step of the way.
Yeah, of course, we are at a very good place with our research, and science is really paving the way here with longer longevity. People with Down are now living way past 60, which is a huge milestone. But let's talk about the best way to encourage others who have a new diagnosis for Down syndrome. We have about 4 minutes left, and I just want to make sure we get that in. And I also want to cover how you communicate with Jed.
Oh yes, absolutely. So my passion, if I could put it into a sentence, it would be to encourage parents who are newly diagnosed, because it is the most vulnerable place of the journey, in my opinion. That's been my experience. You don't know what to expect. The medical field often sort of maybe unknowingly or subconsciously puts a cloud over it, and so does society. And so it is my heart to encourage and say that the joy that you will find in this journey is difficult to put into words. It's quite honestly magic. And so many unexpected twists and turns that make your heart just expand and explode. And so my biggest encouragement would be to find a community, find Happiness is Down Syndrome, reach out to me personally on Misty Coy Snyder, and I will be here with you. It is my life's goal to make sure that nobody feels alone in this journey. And it's all going to be okay. It's going to be better than okay. It's going to be joyful and wonderful, and there will be challenges, but that is true for any individual. So I just have to say that.
I'm glad you did say that. And I know in some of your posts, you often referred to the Down syndrome community as a secret garden you were never looking for, but once you found it and entered it, you say that you unlocked the most beautiful discoveries and truths. And I can totally feel that. I know you have a very special connection with your beautiful boy. Talk to me about how you communicate with him, how it's affecting the family in a positive or negative way, and how his brother is also reacting.
Jed is the gift that we didn't know we needed, and it's exactly what you just said. Any family welcomes a child with open arms, but with Jed, there was so many questions that shrouded the whole pregnancy that I was really quite shocked and pleasantly surprised at how much joy he just brought to our family. It just exploded on the scene. My older son just adores him, and everywhere we go is introducing people to him. I had someone early on in my pregnancy tell me, your older son will be a better person because of Jed. And it is 100% true. He works with him and he encourages him. As far as what it's done to our family, I think that it's built the teamwork in a sense that we want to create an environment where he can learn and grow as much as possible. And so we do use sign language. I'm a singer, so I sing to him a lot, and we make up little songs for each activity that we do. And it's really just as you would do with any baby or toddler. You're teaching them language in the world around them. And I think people think that it's going to be so much different with a disability, but it's not. He's a child and he's got a lot to learn, and we're here to teach him.
You are so blessed. You are so blessed, Misty. We're out of time, but I just really wanted to thank you for coming on. I know there's a lot of misconceptions out there. If you can, in less than 30 seconds, what do you think the biggest misconception about Down syndrome is?
Just that it's going to be a burden. It's going to change your life for the worse. It's just not true. There is so much joy to be found. There's so much happiness to be found, and the community that you will find surrounding your baby will blow your mind.
Oh, I see. And I know that every Monday at 9 p.m., you host a free and anonymous chat called Happiness is Down Syndrome. It's a place to share, just listen. It's a place to really find community that is inspired by you and your journey. So I'm just going to direct people to that. But thank you for coming on. You are absolutely incredible. Your little boy is beautiful, and stay blessed.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Guys, you definitely have to check out Misty Coy Snyder. She's on the gram. Check her out at Happiness is Down Syndrome. Check her out at Misty Coy Snyder. Check her out at Circles_support. That was our Millennial Mom segment brought to you by CCP Digital. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Today on My Healthy Minutes, brought to us by ogpay.com, we are featuring my good friend, Amy Kennedy, Education Director of the Kennedy Forum, and we are joined by her good friend, J.D. Wellett, Equip's Director of Lived Experience. Now, at Equip, they help families recover from eating disorders in the comfort of their own home, and their virtual evidence-based care is provided by a dedicated 5-person team. Today, we're chatting mental health, children, and why eating disorders are on the rise. During the pandemic, we may have seen more children and teens go to the emergency room with mental health problems. And there has been a notable rise in eating disorders, particularly among adolescent girls. Eating disorders include a range of unhealthy relationships with food and concerns about weight. But sadly, eating disorders are very common. In fact, 1 in 7 men and 1 in 5 women experience an eating disorder by age 40. And in 95% of those cases, the disorder begins by age 25. Now, when most people think of eating disorders, they think of someone who is overly thin. However, you can have an eating disorder and have a normal weight, or even be overweight in some cases. Now, the most important thing that many people don't realize about eating disorders is that they are a serious mental health issue and can be very dangerous. They can affect and damage many parts of the body and can even be lethal. If it even crosses your mind that your child might have an eating disorder, remember that these disorders are not about choice. Mental health problems such as anxiety and depression play a very big role, and emotional suffering is often the underlier. Research shows that when you undereat or overeat, it affects the brain process that controls hunger and food intake, reinforcing the actual eating disorder itself. Now, in the United States, Mental Health America reports that 20 million women and 10 million men will experience a clinically significant eating disorder at some time in their life. This mainly includes anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and binge eating disorder. And here to chat some more are my experts at hand. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thanks so much. Good to be with you.
Nice to meet you, JD. Absolutely. All right, let's dive right in, JD. The National Eating Disorders Association Helpline currently has experienced a 107% increase in contacts since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. And the dramatic increase in hospitalization clearly shows that people are not getting treatment quickly enough. Why have we seen an increase in eating disorders, especially in kids post-pandemic? And can this be treated and or even reversed, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, for sure, eating disorders are absolutely treatable to full recovery. This is something that we believe in passionately at Equip, something that I've experienced in my own home. Related to the pandemic, it's very interesting. You mentioned anxiety disorders, and about 85% of people with an eating disorder also have an anxiety disorder. What was the mother of all anxious situations? The beginning of the pandemic, right? So you had all of these, things that made us all so very anxious, combined with we took kids out of their structure and routine. And many kids vulnerable to eating disorders really are people who like structure and routine and benefit from that. So that rug was sort of pulled out from under them. At the same time, everywhere you went, don't put on the quarantine 15. So lots of messages about watching what you eat, etc. Then we also had Zoom all the time. So you're a 10 or a 14 or a 17-year-old kid looking at yourself on Zoom all day long, which you're not normally used to doing. And then you have time now. You have time to start a healthy eating makeover, an exercise routine, etc. So all of those forces really combined to ensure that everyone who was genetically vulnerable, temperamentally vulnerable to developing an eating disorder would develop an eating disorder, and all at the same time. So really a perfect storm of events to accelerate the development in eating disorders of people who might have got one later, or maybe they wouldn't have. Maybe they would have passed their vulnerable period, but the pandemic made sure it happened for lots and lots and lots of kids.
Yeah, and you have a lot of work on your hands to do, but thank you for doing an amazing job at Equip. Amy, most of us start our day by checking our social media accounts and end our day the same way. Maybe we pop back in throughout the day for quick check-ins, but before we've realized it, we've scrolled through recent posts for nearly an hour. And a recent study found that almost 70% of the participants reported checking their social media in bed before going to sleep. So one explanation that may drive excessive use of social media, even despite any potential consequences, is fear of missing out, FOMO. And various research studies suggest a connection between social media and symptoms of anxiety and depression. We've talked about this before. And as of recently, because of the pandemic, social isolation has created opportunities for young adults to connect with unhelpful social media resources. What do you say to this? And is social media a big part of the problem?
I mean, I think it's indisputable. Research suggests that youth who engage in social media are more likely to develop an eating disorder. They pay really close attention to what their peers are doing. And it's a really vulnerable time, compounded by the rise in social media, as you pointed out, the constant bombardment, highlight reels, right? TikToks, Instagram that shows how to present themselves, how to dress and act, and what they should be look like, and idealized filters of what image they should be presenting. But a lot of this is not just about their own image. It's a lot about control too during this time of anxiety. So, we might think that eating disorders is all about trying to look a certain way. And oftentimes it's not just an image issue. It's a lot more to it than that. It may be to mask some of the other feelings that are going on. It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. It also sometimes is not. So it's very, very interesting when you look at these really young children who even pre all of this sort of influence are developing them. So it's, again, that perfect storm thing where the social media influence really does come in there. And again, ensures there were times in our past where a lot of kids might make it out of their childhood or adolescence without dieting. Social media makes that very rare, right? We're all sold food rules, all these sorts of things that we should be doing. And really the algorithms, the way that once somebody is vulnerable and looks at a few things, the way it feeds more and more to them and really normalizes this incredibly toxic behavior is a really direct influence.
It's terrible. It's terrible. JD, what is the most important thing a parent can do if they suspect that their child has an eating disorder?
So I would say that the first thing that people can do to reduce the chance of their child having an eating disorder is to make sure that they don't ever fall into a negative energy balance state. So that's making sure your kids eat their breakfast, eat their lunch, or stay on their growth curve, that sort of thing. If you have any suspicions whatsoever, don't run from them. So make sure that you sort of look directly at them. And I know when our daughter developed her eating disorder at 17, and it's interesting to note she had much fewer body image concerns than her friends. My husband and I just celebrated our 35th anniversary, and she actually said, "Thank you for having a marriage that gave me a trauma-free childhood," which I thought was a lovely compliment. However, she and her friends in their senior year decided to go on a healthy eating makeover, and we had no idea she was genetically vulnerable. My mother-in-law has anorexia, which we were not aware of. But so once you see it, don't just dismiss it as a phase. Don't just think, well, all kids do this or all kids diet, things like that, things that I did in the beginning. So really take a look at it, get into the pediatrician, really focus on what was their own personal growth trajectory and are they on that? And so a lot of times now pediatricians are really geared toward obesity prevention. So anytime somebody's going up on the growth curve, they may flag that. However, if they stagnate or go down, that doesn't get flagged in the same way. So all of our kids are really prone to growing on their own pattern. So making sure that that's in play. And then again, be saying, hey, this is what I'm seeing lately. I'm seeing that you don't eat breakfast anymore, or I'm seeing that your lunch is coming home and you haven't eaten it, things like that. And then once you try, if they say, well, it's not a big deal or whatever, start feeding them the way they need to eat. And really their reaction is going to drive. Was this just something that they were experimenting with and you quashed it? Or is the reaction so big that that you've got an eating disorder on your hands? And then again, starting with the pediatrician, and of course, Equip does evaluations and things like that. So really talking to people, visiting the website Feast, Families Empowered and Supporting Treatment of Eating Disorders, going through the warning signs list. I'll just share a classic warning sign that I had no idea about, which is a newfound or heightened interest in baking or cooking. And we are a cooking, baking family. And so it wasn't that unusual, but pretty soon my daughter was baking amazing, beautiful, Food Network worthy stuff, but not eating it herself.
So there was the gratification of the action of doing it. It's almost like living vicariously through the baking itself. But yes, I totally think that this advice is things that we need to hear of. I'm going to shift this to Amy a little bit because I want to make sure that I get this very important question in. Let's highlight the importance of, like you said, early diagnosis and intervention to prevent these hospitalizations. So people with Eating disorders often, like you said, appear healthy with normal blood tests. No signs that an eating disorder has become potentially life-threatening are often missed in primary care and emergency settings. Amy, are there any tools or guidelines available to healthcare professionals or even parents to spot the signs that an eating disorder is causing severe health problems?
Well, I think JD just mentioned Feast and, of course, NIDA. There's a couple other really great websites that you should take a look at if you're concerned. One other thing I would say, going back to the social media piece, is diversifying your feed a little bit so that we're including different body types in your feed as you're thinking about what your kids are consuming social media wise, not just what they're eating, but what are they consuming from social media. This is a disorder that has absolutely the worst insurance coverage. It's one that continues to be the single longest and costliest mental health disorder when it comes to hospitalization. And so making sure that you have the coverage that's needed, that you're intervening as early as possible, not putting it off, but as JD said, really looking at straight on so that you'll get the best results, because the earlier you're able to diagnose any mental health condition, the better the outcomes will be. And knowing that there is support, 988 went live in July.
That was my next question. Yes, 988. So let's chat about 988. We have about 2 minutes in the segment. So the hope is that this new 3-digit lifeline number is gonna be easier to remember in times of crisis than the 10-digit National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. So right now, there's still concern that not enough infrastructure exists to support the country's mental health needs without triggering a response from emergency personnel, forcing people to an emergency room or really a treatment facility. But posts on social media criticizing the program have received a large amount of engagement. Users shared their experiences with Lifeline, and many said that their experience had been poor and encouraged others not to use 988 for fear that they would have a similar experience or even confrontation with law enforcement. We have about a minute. I just wanted to get your thoughts on this. Is this counterproductive, this 988, or do you think it'll stand the test of time?
I think that we knew right off the bat it was going to be a very bumpy rollout, because the funding for 988 is very dependent on each state to build it out in the way that they see fit. And so we're going to have to put the pressure on to make sure the funding is there to expand the services that are going to be needed. And is 988 something we need in this country? Absolutely. Is it going to work if we don't put the funding in place? No. So
Exactly.
This has to happen.
It's all about money.
There have been a lot of issues with it, and it's going to continue to be that way until each state prioritizes this type of help for its constituents.
I love it. That's why we have people like you, Amy, out there on the front lines, and like JD, really doing your part and really kind of paving the way so these eating disorders, these mental health issues are really, parents and caregivers are able to be equipped with the right information and knowledge. So thank you for the work that you're doing at the Kennedy Forum. And JD, thank you so much for the work that you guys are doing at Equip. You're really changing lives.
Thank you. Thanks for covering this. So important as we head back to school. Let's make sure that if you are concerned about your child, keep in touch with the school and let them know too.
Absolutely. Ladies, thank you so much for coming on. JD, pleasure.
Thank you.
That was My Healthy Minutes, brought to us by ogpay.com. That was Amy Kennedy from the Kennedy Forum. Make sure you check them out, thekennedyforum.org. And that was JD Willett. Make sure you check out equip.health. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OGPay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OGPay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Revere Securities. Revere is committed to building a relationship of trust in which they work closely with you to help you define your objectives, explore alternatives, and choose the financial and investment strategies that are most appropriate for you. Go to reveresecurities.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Business and Buzz segment, brought to us by Revere Securities, we're featuring Jeff Thompson, CEO of Red Cat Holdings. Now, they're at the forefront of providing solutions for the rapidly growing commercial and recreational drone industries. That's right. Now, whether you call them unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, miniature pilotless aircraft, or flying mini robots, drones are rapidly growing in popularity. They're still in the infancy stage in terms of mass adoption and usage, but drones have already broken through rigid traditional barriers in industries which otherwise seemed impenetrable by similar technological innovations. Now, drones are a transformative technology that over the next decade will change in ways you likely have never imagined. And although you may not spend much time thinking about the future of drones, they will have a serious impact on all of our lives. Now, over the past few years, drones have become central to the functions of various businesses and governmental organizations, and have even managed to pierce through areas where certain industries were either stagnant or lagging behind. From quick deliveries at rush hour to scanning an unreachable military base, drones features are proving to be extremely beneficial in places where man can't reach or is unable to perform in a timely and efficient manner. And today we're chatting all things drones, how they are saving lives, and what makes them a great portfolio investment. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Great. Well, thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
Good to have you back. All right. So very recently, there was a headliner. There was a 14-year-old boy, Jeff, that was in danger of drowning off the Spanish shores of Valencia. This happened not long ago, and help came in an unusual form, a drone. And within seconds of spotting trouble, lifeguards used walkie-talkies to notify trained drone pilots to fly over the child, and the drone really battled crosswinds and hovered a few feet over the boy, dropping an auto-inflating life vest. And shortly after the child put the vest on, of course, a lifeguard arrived on a personal watercraft to bring him back to shore. But the rescue mission relied on technology from the Spanish company that offered really a preview into the future of what summers could look like, and at how you can just take a life and save it in a matter of seconds when every moment counts. Tell me, at Red Cat, what you're at the forefront of this technology. Talk to me about more where drones are headed in rescue missions specifically.
Well, it's a great topic, and one that's very fresh, as I just got back from North Carolina meeting with a bunch of the folks at Fort Bragg. But the Red Cat theory and mindset is that we truly believe that drones are going to change the world, where if 5 years from now, you're going to be like, how on earth did we live without drones? And the example of someone getting rescued out of the water is something that no one would have thought about 5 or 6 years ago. And you're just going to continue to see things like that happening. There's been people, there's defibrillators on golf courses now that have actually been used and saved lives because of drones, things of that nature. You're just going to continue to see that. And because it's fresh on my mind, because I just got back from meeting with the folks in the government, drones have truly changed warfare in Ukraine. Small class 1 drones like the one that we make, which is called the Golden Eagle, which is also, it's in the Ukraine right now, hopefully saving lives. That's about as much as I will say. But there's so much that information that you can get from a drone, or things like rescuing someone. It's just going to continue to happen. And again, drones will change our lives over the next 5 to 10, actually 30 years. This is going to be a 30-year cycle. And they're basically flying robots. Robots are doing so much. They're like, you got the EV market has been huge. Drones are EVs also, but they're flying EVs. So there's going to be a lot happening. You're going to hear stories like that boy saved all the time from now on.
Yeah. And when you go back to exactly a very timely topic, yes, Ukraine's armed forces have very effectively shown how consumer drones can be used to find targets, to direct, artillery fire, to assess battle damage, and more importantly, drop grenades on the Russians, while these large R-18 autocopters carry anti-tank bombs. Even small quadcopters can deliver grenades with really high accuracy. And we've seen this in the video found online from the 93rd Brigade. It showed a drone carrying out a very impressive precision strike through an open doorway. And it was the first known attack of this type with a consumer drone. So you are 100% correct. Let's move on to something a little bit more global here. So we're in the middle of an explosion of innovation in drone technology on a global scale. And according to a report by venture capitalists at Vice Tech Ventures, there's been $5 billion of investment in drone technology in the past 2 years. And globally, we see that the investment appetite is going towards deep tech companies. It's not only the drones. So we're also going to see high growth of the level of interest from quantum technologies, for example, or deep artificial intelligence. What do you say to this trend, and what advice do you have for investing in this space?
Yeah, there's the drone industry has gone through kind of almost three waves. The original wave when Jeff Bezos talked about deliveries on 60 Minutes in 2013, and we haven't gotten to that delivery phase yet. It's just starting to happen now. So things take longer, but the drone technology has truly matured where you can do things that you couldn't just do a few years ago. And not to be just self-promotional, but we just launched a product called the 4-Ship. It's basically one operator to many drones, which loosens up 3 other pilots to do other things, very efficient. But for instance, for first responders, you can get 360 degree of situational awareness. And not only can you take that swarm and set it to go look at something like that, they can orbit slowly. So you're getting live looks at anyone trying to come out of a window and find out where people are in that building. And it can really make it safe for an officer to come up to a really tricky situation that's already stressful. So having an automated, basically autonomous swarm capability with just 4 drones, because once you're after 4 drones, the cognitive load of handling more than 4 is very difficult. So that's why we have it called it's called the 4-Ship. But basically you're investing in robotics, information technology. We've partnered with other companies that can give you real-time mapping of that location, can tell you the line of sight that the enemy or the person that's doing something bad in the building for situational awareness can see you, or you can see them. You know if they can see you or not. You have a plan of attack. There's many different things with software on top of a airframe platform that's just doing stuff that would blow your mind.
Exactly. And this is something that just blew my mind that I read about drones. So, as we know, that the United States is embarking on this massive overhaul of its aging infrastructure, right? And there's perhaps no better tool than these extra set of mechanical eyes, right? Drones. And businesses that invest in drone technology, whether airborne, underwater, or on land, could prove instrumental, as millions of miles of roads, pipelines, bridges, and utilities are going to need to be inspected before and after significant funding, in their rehabilitation, so to speak. So not only that, but the work will also need to be monitored. So collected data and imagery will keep stakeholders informed, right? Really making the infrastructure easier to maintain throughout its entire life cycle. So imagine 3D digital twins of the country's infrastructure showing progress on maintenance, construction, and operations. That's really where I'm talking about that we're headed. So in your point of view, in the next 5 years, what industries are really going to benefit the most from drone use?
Yeah, so if you just basically mentioned the infrastructure bill, and that money looks like it's going to start coming to fruition in early to mid next year. We actually have a skycopter that's made for inspections. For inspections, you typically we have a very lightweight bubble around the propellers. So if you're inspecting a cell site with all the wires there, you don't want to bump into the cell site and cut the wires and causing more damage than before you got there. So inspection is very important. Bridge inspection, there's 617,000 bridges that need repair. And that means there's 617,000 inspections that need to be done safely without humans dangling off, ropes and wires. So I think infrastructure is going to be a huge play. There was just actually a bill introduced yesterday for over $100 million in grants for Made in USA drones to do infrastructure inspections. It looks like it's going to be a bipartisan bill, but that's just going to, I mean, we've already been doing stuff with construction workers that are pouring concrete. They just keep watching the different levels to make sure that it's the correct levels, making sure there's no bubbles. There's all sorts of things, because we can literally get down and tell you if there's a bad leaf on a tree. So inspecting cement is very easy for us. So, but you can save thousands of dollars in those inspections. We've saved General Motors over $1 million in their factories by using robots, flying robots, instead of human beings dangling off cranes that build cars.
That's so impressive. And one of my other questions, well, that you just self-answered, is what makes Red Cat Holdings so impressive, really making it one of the most valuable companies in the industry. I know you guys are trending well. You're, our cat is doing amazing, but, you just answered the question. You're solving real world issues with your technology. And of course, you have these amazing contracts. But when you're looking at it from a CEO's point of view, you are at the forefront of all of these advances and the research, which is really kind of where most companies lack, right? Understanding what you're selling and understanding your product is really kind of something that you are really exceptionally great at. So yeah, great job there.
No, thanks. Appreciate that.
And interestingly enough, we have about 2 minutes left, just being mindful of the time. But when you look at another recent example of drones, they were a vital part of Norway's biggest landslide rescue operation, Jeff. Interestingly enough, multiple DJI drones were used to cover an area of 2 square kilometers, and rescue workers used drones to map possible survivors and gauge danger. And a fleet of drones provided emergency responders with situational awareness, live footage, and even 3D maps of the site that were instrumental in rescuing over 1,000 victims of the disaster. So yes, you are 100% right. We're starting to see this. And how can drones not be part of our everyday lives, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely. And one of the things that is very specific to Red Cat is we're really focused on nighttime capabilities with a drone. Most drones that are made in the USA are autonomous, and once it becomes dark, they're no longer usable. We're really focused on nighttime because, frankly, most government missions are done at nighttime. And to use that landslide as an example, half of that time frame was probably dark. So we have a very qualified thermal camera that could help in situations like that to identify people in a landslide like that. And you don't want to stop your mission with drones once it gets dark. So our nighttime capabilities are probably the best in the industry, and we're going to continue to expand on that.
I love that. And not only are you going to expand on it, but there's so many people trying to get into the space right now. I know you guys are at the forefront, but according to verified market research, which the global drones market size was valued at approximately 20 billion in 2020, but it's projected to reach approximately 64 billion by 2028. Yep. So these are excellent growth projections. And it just kind of really wants, it's really incentivizing investors to have a look at really what this industry is all about. We are out of time. I want to thank you so much for coming on, my friend. You are always so full of knowledge. And I love chatting drones because they are solving real world issues. And as a mom, I'm always about safety, about how to make something more effective, but more importantly, how to change the traditional way of doing things and make it more effective and better.
Great. You're correct. Drones can do stuff better, faster, cheaper, and safer. So thanks for having me on.
You got it, Jeff. Thank you so much. Guys, it's clear that drones are pushing boundaries and impacting hundreds of thousands of lives all across the globe. More than ever, drones have now become a powerful force for positive social impact in the world. And you definitely have to stay at the forefront of the technology. Make sure you're tuning into A Moment of Zen. That was our business and buzz segment brought to us by Reverse Securities. And definitely check out this amazing company, redcatholdings.com, and check them out on the gram at Redcat Propwear. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
If you've missed out dining in New York City for the past year, it's time to visit the legendary Vice Cucina. Located in the heart of Midtown, Vice specializes in blending delicious Northern Italian and American cuisine with dishes such as the incredible taglione lobster, ravioli masala, ossobuco, and pappardelle al telefono, along with many other mouthwatering offerings. You deserve a great night out. Call Vice Cucina, 212-757-2600 or online at vicecucina.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Hi There. a creative community exploring the culture, craft, and science of cannabis. Hi There believes that we have a collective responsibility towards eradicating the stigma, misinformation, and inequities surrounding this plant so we can unlock its true potential for all. To become involved and find out what all the excitement is about, download the Hi There app from the App Store and Google Play. Hi There, HIGHTHERE.
That's a wrap, my dear friends. We are at the end of our date. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could head to 710WOR.iHeart.com/a moment of Zen. And remember that we're now on TV. Download the KP Media TV app on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, or Android TV, or you could tune in at impact.kpmedia.tv and catch a moment of Zen on the Impact Live channel tomorrow, Sunday, that's right, at 11 a.m. Eastern. You'll hear more of me. All episodes of A Moment of Zen are now available on demand. Thank you for listening to us. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that make it happen. And remember, happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it.